Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier League review show on Football Tour Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. It's been a very interesting match week 36, as we have 2 weeks left of the Premier League. But in terms of this week, Arsenal and Liverpool settle with a point. Man City dropped points against Southampton, and Villa continue their chase to finish in the top four. So that's some of the highlights. So let's go through all of the matches, and we'll start with the first match, and that is Liverpool versus Arsenal. Not the result that Liverpool fans expected, as the game started so well for the Reds. Liverpool took the lead from a Gakpo close range header, great cross from Robertson with the assist. Then Liverpool made it 2-0 as Szoboszlai hits the ball past the keeper. You see Luis Diaz sliding in to hit the back of the net. Liverpool did have chances through Curtis Jones and Luis Diaz, but unfortunately couldn't capitalise, and that felt a bit costly in the end as Liverpool seemed to take the foot off the gas in the second half. Arsenal scored in the opening few minutes with a rare Martinelli header. Then, this was the biggest talking point of the game. Trent Alexander-Arnold makes his cameo off the bench, and he didn't get the warmest of welcomes as he was serenaded with boos from large sections of the stadium. Now, the media is trying to tell us that, Liverpool fans were wrong and are criticizing them for their reaction as Trent Alexander-Arnold stepped onto the pitch. Now, for me, let's make one thing clear. You can't tell people how to feel. And in this moment, when it comes to Liverpool and the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation, it's quite a niche sort of situation because Liverpool is not like every other club. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Liverpool fan. We are an emotional fan base and we're very attached to our players. And with Trent being a Scouser, and he said it over the years that this is his team, it means a lot to him to part ways from the club when this was your ultimate dream, and all of a sudden you have aspirations to join another club. It's a hard one to swallow. So for me, I just don't understand. I just don't think people understand the magnitude of Trent's decision to leave Liverpool. But what I will say in regards to him receiving boos on the pitch in this game, uh, I think when he stepped on a pitch, you know, you can react how you feel. It's your initial reaction. So whether it's boos or cheers, that's all on you. But once the player steps onto the pitch, I don't think it's right to boo your own player every time he touched the ball. I don't think that was the right thing to do. And it certainly impacted the game. The atmosphere felt a bit strange as the crowd went a bit quiet and it just wasn't as vocal as it was early in the game. And I don't think it helped in terms of the outcome of the fixture either. And, it led to a second goal. Odegaard hits a thunder shot from outside the box. Allison does well initially to parry the ball onto the crossbar, but unfortunately, Marino reacts first and scored from the rebound to give Arsenal the equaliser. Then in the last minute, Liverpool hit the back of the net as Robertson scores from close range, but unfortunately was ruled out for a foul as Kanate pretty much face slammed Lewis Skelly to the ground in the build up there. Sometimes they're giving, sometimes they're not, but I understand why that was, ruled out for a foul. But overall, I think a draw was probably a fair result as it was a game of two halves. Liverpool were fantastic in the first half, and Arsenal certainly improved in the second half and did enough to get a point in the end. I'm sure their fans will be pleased about, getting a point as it may give them the idea that, we can really challenge uh Liverpool next season. So whether that's going to happen or not remains to be seen. But in the end, I think this was a fair result. Now on to the next fixture. Southampton versus Man City. Man City may regret this one as they dropped points against Southampton, who we all know are at the bottom of the table. And let's be honest, in terms of the game, it was one-way traffic. It was all Man City who created an abundance of shots towards goal. Gavardio came very close in the first half, and Mamouche smashes the crossbar in the second half. But unfortunately for Man City, it wasn't to be. Ruben Diaz did not call any punches in his post-match interview. suggesting that Southampton didn't come to play and just defended in the whole game. But what do you expect from a team that's just been relegated? So they're not exactly going to play expansive football. City should be used to playing against low block teams like Southampton. So on this occasion, you have to give credit to the home team who produced a very good defensive display. In terms of the league table now, City have dropped to fourth place and are now 3 points away from Arsenal. So the race for second, even third place now, is not completely out for Man City. Next fixture. Newcastle versus Chelsea. Now, this was probably the match of the week, as both teams are chasing for a top four finish. So the stakes were very high going into this fixture, and it was Newcastle who took the lead as Tonali scores from close range with a left-footed finish. Pivotal moment of the game was the sending off for Nicholas Jackson, and let's be honest, there's no complaints in terms of that decision. Newcastle then took advantage of the extra man and scored the second goal as Bruno Gomes hits a long range shot that gets a huge deflection and ends up looping over the keeper. Newcastle are now edging closer to finishing in the top four as they're now third in the league. Any result in the next fixture against Arsenal this weekend should seal Champions League qualification for next season. Next fixture, Forest versus Leicester City. This result will come across as bittersweet for Forest, as the point secured European football for next season, but it was also the manner and how they drew the game that probably left a sour taste for the fans. So much so, you had the Forest owner marching onto the pitch and getting a few things off his chest. But in terms of the game, there were a lot of goals taking place. First, it was Cody who opens the scoreline for Leicester City with a close range header. Then Morgan Gibbs White gets the equaliser with a header from a set piece. Chris Wood then gets the lead for us with a diving header. Seems to be all about headers in this game. But Buonanotte crashes the party as he goes on a amazing run and scores a right footed finish into the bottom corner. Champions League qualification may be unrealistic for Forest now, but it does not mean that you've got to dispel their efforts for the season. They have been fantastic this campaign. This time last year they were just about surviving relegation. So what a crazy 12 months it has been for Forest and their fans, and they should be proud of the team and should be excited for next season as well. Next fixture, Bournemouth versus Aston Villa. Villa are continuing to push for a top four finish as they claimed an important win against Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium. Ollie Watkins was the hero as he applies the faintest of touches to find the back of the net. And that win helps Villa move up to sixth place with 63 points. Now, in other games, Fulham versus Everton. A surprise away win from Everton at Craven Cottage. Fulham scored the opening goal. It was a Raul Jimenez bullet header that made it 1-0. Everton then respond with the equaliser as Mikulenko's shot gets a huge deflection but finds its way into the goal. Michael Keane then hits a header from a corner kick to make it 2-1. Then Doucouré makes it 3-1 with a place shot into the goal. But let's be honest, poor goalkeeping from Bernd Leno, who let the shot go through his hands. So definitely one to forget there for the keeper. That result has helped Everton climb up the table as they are currently 13th in the league. Next fixture, Wolves versus Brighton. Brighton produced a great away win at the Molineux. Poor tackle from Cunha on Wifa, who charges into the penalty box. He's fouled and a penalty is awarded. For Brighton, Danny Welbeck steps up and calmly slots it into the bottom corner. Brighton then make it 2-0 in the second half as Bruder dinks the ball into the corner to score his first goal for the Seagulls. And you can tell it meant a lot to him as he was quite emotional with his celebration. That win has helped Brighton move up to ninth in the league. Next fixture. Surprise, surprise. Manchester United have lost another game of football in the Premier League as they got hammered by West Ham. West Ham opened the scoreline with a great team goal. Soucek gets the tap in, but in the end, great cross from Kudus with the assist. Then West Ham double the score as former United player Wan-Bissaka hits the low cross with his left foot and finds Bowen around the 6-yard box, and the Englishman smashes it into the back of the net to make it 2-0. And that is United's 17th defeat of the season. I don't think the downfall of this team has been spoken enough this season. They are 16th in the league, and to make it work, they're in a European Cup final very, very soon against Tottenham. And speaking of Tottenham, they also didn't have the best of weeks either, as they lost 2-0 to Palace at home, and it was Eze who stole the show. His first goal, great play from Manuz on that right hand side. He squares it to Eze, and he pretty much taps it in to score an open goal. Eze then gets his second goal as Ismail Assar hits the counter attack for Palace, finds himself in a good position around the box, squares it to Eze, and he starts it clinically this time into the bottom corner. A good win for the Eagles, but less said about Tottenham the better, as they're currently sitting in 17th place. So it looks like it's 16th versus 17th in the Europa League Cup final. And some people said that the English Premier League has been weak this season. Well, make that make sense for me. Now, on to the next fixture and the final fixture of match week 36, and that is Ipswich Town versus Brentford. And what a huge win for Brentford, who are surprisingly showing a late charge and pushing for a European finish before the season concludes. The winning goal came from Shada, who has been in Cincinnati form in recent weeks. He scores a great header from a corner kick, and that victory puts Brentford in 8th place in the table, which is quite remarkable. It felt like it wasn't that long ago that they were around Man United and Tottenham in the league table. So what an achievement it's been for Thomas Frank so far. And if they manage to qualify for European football, it's another amazing season for the Bees. And that is the end of our match week 36 review. Let's move on and announce the FPL manager of the week, and that goes to Lex Henna, and they have managed to attain 80 points this week. So well to Lex Henna, a good points tally there. In terms of my performance, I only managed to get 49 points. So I'm probably thinking about next season already, if I'm being brutally honest. So what we'll do now is we will present the league table and see, where everyone stands. Do we have any movers and shakers in the top 10? Let's review and have a look right now. So at top spot, Jordan Smith maintains his position there. He is um, on- currently with 2,421 points. That is a ridiculous score there. And he managed to get 59 points, which is not too bad in this game week. Then you've got Jake Hallison moving up to second in the table. Chris Barnett moving up to third. Ripon Mahan dropping to fourth. Tyler Aziz and BT being fifth and sixth, respectively. Hamza Jamil moving up to seventh. Lebanese Saka moving up to eighth. Warren Clark dropping to ninth. And Jeet Shah moving down to 10th place. So, big up to all the FPL managers there. A couple of weeks more remaining of the season. So, I'm sure everyone will try and get as much points as possible. Yeah, we'll look forward to how the transfer window happens in terms of the summer. I'm sure there'll be a lot of big signings coming across. So, it'll be interesting to see how we set our teams up in the opening weeks of next season. Now, before we close the show, we will review upcoming fixtures of match week 37. So, yeah, only a couple of weeks left. So, let's do that right now. So, the first fixture will be Aston Villa versus Tottenham Hotspur. And in terms of my score prediction there, I'm going to go for a Villa win. I think Villa will nick this one, and I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory for the Villains. Now, Chelsea and Manchester United. Now, this will be, on paper, it's probably a interesting fixture, but you've got Manchester United constantly to save their lives right now. Um, and Chelsea's been a bit hit and miss recently as well. So, very difficult to predict this one, but I'm going to go for a Chelsea win. And I think the scoreline will be 2-1 to the Blues. And in terms of the Sunday fixtures, so that's 2 Friday fixtures, no Saturday fixtures here, which is strange. But Everton face Southampton. Who gets the win in this one? So I'm going to say Southampton. They've been a bit jammy in recent weeks, notching up wins here and there. So I think they'll get the win, and it'll be a 1-0 win to the Toffees. Then you've got West Ham and Forest. Fortunately for Forest, I think this will end in a draw. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 result. Brentford then versus Fulham. I think Brentford might just nick the win there. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for the Bees. Then you've got Leicester versus Ipswich Town. Yeah, I'm not sure about this game. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Then you have Arsenal versus Newcastle. This is definitely the game of the week. Hmm. I feel like Newcastle in great form right now. I think Newcastle going to get the win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, a narrow win for the Toonami. I think they're just going to nick in this one. And to make it worse, I think Isak will score the winner. So let's see how that pans out. And then on Monday, we've got Brighton versus Liverpool. I think Liverpool will secure the win. I think the score will finish 2-1 to the Reds. And on Tuesday, we've got Crystal Palace versus Wolves. I think Palace will win. I think the score will be 2-1 to the Eagles. And you've got Man City versus Bournemouth. I think Man City will just about get this one. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Man City. So that is my predictions for Matchweek 37. Just got a few comments here before we close the show from Oz and Quebec. He says, Yo, Ozzie, pick up yourself, Oz and Quebec. I hope you're well. And his second comment is, what I don't like is that this whole Trent thing is national news today. It is very annoying. And that's what annoyed me about Trent's announcement of leaving the club, because the writing was on the wall. I think a lot of us fans expected him, to leave Liverpool this season. But the timing was just odd. It wasn't necessary to do it at that time. Yes, I know we secured the Premier League title, but we've still got games to play. Just because we've, done it in a month in advance doesn't mean you can just go off and, reveal what your future plans are. I think he should have waited. I think he should have waited until possibly after the parade, because now, fans are saying he shouldn't be involved anymore. So, you really shot yourself in the foot there by making this announcement. He may have not expected the reception that he got against Arsenal, a lot of boos, and I feel like it's justified because the fans are not happy with the way he's conducting himself. So, yeah, I think he's a bit deluded to think that he wasn't going to get a mixed reception at least. If he thought he was going to get a huge round of applause from every single person at Anfield, yeah, he needs to give his head a little bit of a wobble there. But it is annoying because it is talk of the town now, and it's put us Liverpool fans in a bad light because people are suggesting that you guys are normally classy fans, with respect for your players and your managers and all that sort of stuff. Like, what's happened here? But I don't think people understand the relationship between us fans and the players, especially if it's a player that's come through the ranks and that's a scouser as well. It's different to any other club, in my opinion. So it's annoying, and Trent's made it all about himself, which is another reason why fans aren't happy in terms of what he's done in recent weeks. So it is what it is, but I'm sure we'll move on in due course. And then come back first comment, it shouldn't take away from the fact that we are Premier League champions. No, it shouldn't. And that's the thing. He's made it all about himself, and it's really not about him. So we've done something where most people into the fans, content creators, or media pundits, all for Liverpool weren't going to get challenged for a league title. A lot of people had us outside of the top five, top six. So a lot of people have to you know retract what they said, because I think it was slight out of order. In terms of my prediction, I thought we were going to finish second on the basis of our squad. I thought our squad was stronger than Arsenal. I just thought Man City w- were going to go on and complete a new record in terms of winning, 5 titles in a row. But that Rodri injury completely shaked things up. And I think I called it out in the Southampton fixture, which was match week 12, that we were going to win the league. So I already had that sense that this was going to be our season, and I'm very pleased to the how the team has finish the season. Some fans are even questioning the players' mentality because we lost to Chelsea and drew to Arsenal. Guys, we're in holiday mode right now. I don't know if you've seen it online. Arnold Slot and the boys, they're celebrating Dubai. They've got a training camp there, but they're at bars and clubs, with champions, serenading in the venues. They're 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 not there anymore. The job is done. The objective was done to win the league title, and we've done that. So we can relax a little bit. We don't have to go 100 miles per hour just for the sake of it now. Job is done. Let's enjoy the remaining weeks of the Premier League, and then we go again next season. So that should be the way it works. But fans can be a little bit, a bit extra in regards to that. But it is what it is. Um, Just got a comment here from Double D. Double D says Real want him for the Club World Cup. If that's the case, show us the money. You're not going to get him for free. His contract expired at a certain date. So if you want him out of his contract, you've got to, give us some sort of compensation. Now, in terms of the amount, I think the rumor was that they will give us €1 million or something along that range. I want about 5-10 mil. I'm not even exaggerating. I want a good chunk of money. If you really value Trent as your next big star, prove it. Put the money where your mouth is, because winning that club World Cup competition, I believe you get 100 million for winning it, and they will be one of the strong favorites to win the competition. So 10% of that, I'm all for it. Give us 10 million. So let's see how much they really want Trent. Otherwise, Trent's gonna have to sit down until that contract finishes, and once it is, then he can move on to Real Madrid when the competition is already taking place. But we don't have any interest with regards to Trent Alexander-Arnold now. He has to respect the contract until it finishes and then take it from there. So had he conducted himself in a different manner, maybe we would have said, what, as a goodwill, we'll let you go. But nah, that was never going to happen, unfortunately. Odin said, I saw a post that sort of was in Ibiza. That might have been the video that I watched today, before even going to Dubai. Well, look, he's on party mode right now. So can you blame him? First year as Liverpool coach, he's won the league title. You can't make that stuff up. It's a fantastic opening season for a foreign coach, and yeah, hopefully, long may it continue. Hopefully, we can find some hidden gems or good reinforcements in the summer window, and then we go again next season. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Ozzy and Kabak and Double D for your comments there. If you haven't really, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. In terms of upcoming content, if there's any sort of breaking news tomorrow, I might do an impromptu sort of transfer related show. I know there's been some speculation regarding Jeremy Frimpong being in advanced talks to sign for Liverpool. So if anything develops, I might do a show tomorrow. On Wednesday, I will do a transfer talk show. So if nothing happens, I will still discuss Liverpool related transfers on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we'll do a match preview of Liverpool's game, which is Brighton versus Liverpool. So yeah, make sure you hit that notification bell. If my schedule changes, you'll be first to know in terms of what shows are coming up this week. And yes, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.